Ladies and gentlemen, the Linus story has gotten even worse as now ex-employees of the company are now speaking out against the alleged abuse, although I won't lie, we did take a look at some of these allegations before the video started, and you know, we looked up the job application, what this one specific employee by the name of Madison was applying to, and it seems like some of her allegations that, oh, I was overworked to death or whatever, just don't really line up, given that she was asked to do pretty much everything that the job listing stated that they also happened to talk about publicly from years ago. So it's a very interesting situation. She does have some complaints, though, that, if true, present a pretty horrifying image of the Linus Media Group.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you know, some of these allegations will have standing if, you know, as it develops, we'll learn more about it. But a couple of things that she goes over here where she's just like, I had to make a couple posts and I had to do this and I had to do that. It's really just like, you read it and you're just like rolling your eyes like, wow, okay, you had to make Twitter posts, sure. But
yeah.
Not everything is that eye-rolly. But a couple things in this thing, we are going to shit on her over. So trigger warning. Not just kidding.
yeah, exactly. And by the way, we got Connor phoning it in over here. He's out in undisclosed areas.
I know. I'm in an underground bunker right now, a secret bunker. I'm running from the feds. Actually, they're on my ass right now. So we're committed to the content, even when I'm running from the feds. We still make videos, so make sure to subscribe, especially if you're a daily watcher, sub to the channel.
So Madison puts out the allegation, to stop the speculation DMs I'm receiving, I chose to quit my role at Linus Tech Tips because it and the working environment I was facing were ruining my mental health. The number of daily items the social media role at the time was expected to fill was incredibly high. I was expected to post 3 tweets, 2 Instagram posts, and 2 TikToks minimum per day. I was also expected to plan, film, and edit and post 2 float plane exclusives per week. This included wrangling people to be in them when they were also all struggling to get their work done. So right off the bat, I mean, I don't know about this.
Yeah, I'm sorry. 2 Instagram posts, 3 tweets, and 2 TikToks per day is really not that hard. That's max like a few hours. Especially like, let's say you edit, like if it's a minute-long TikTok, that would take you maybe 30 minutes max to edit. Especially depends what kind of videos you're doing, what you're putting out there. I mean, this is like an 8-hour workday or less. I mean, what she's putting out there, it's not even close to anything crazy so far. So we'll see. I mean, I don't know.
She says, I was also expected to manage, plan, come up with, execute, and get approval for, and schedule out all the sponsored content on socials, not including YouTube. All while being told not to complain because my job was the fun job. I mean, it doesn't sound that bad to me. You know, like tweeting, TikToks. All right, sure, I'll do that.
I mean, yeah, well, okay, even this is the thing, even if it's not necessarily fun, because I can see how if you're doing something for someone else and it's not like your own work, it might not be fun, but it's like, welcome to the real world, right? Welcome to doing a job.
Most jobs aren't fun. You know?
Yeah, most jobs aren't fun, and at the same time, so far what you've listed, really not that much. I'm sorry, it's just not a lot. I mean,
so she continues. She says, I cannot speak on what it's like now, but they have an entire team working on seemingly what I was expected to accomplish alone. So this is very confusing, right? Because she's saying like, look, I'm just guessing now that they have multiple social media people that, you know, they're all doing the same amount of work, you know, demonstrating that I was overworked when I worked there. But it's like the company's also gotten bigger since you left, right? So how is it not, you know, you can speculate that they're doing the same workloads, but it's, to me, I'm just speculating that their company just got bigger. They need more people doing the same stuff. They need more people working the social media lines, and they just expanded, which is what companies naturally do if they're successful.
I mean, when did she leave? Like a year ago? Yeah, I guess if she left like a year ago or so, then yeah, I think Linus Tech Tips has grown significantly in the past year, to be honest. So, I mean, at the same time, you know, she doesn't really know. She said, I can't speak on what it's like now, but I'm just guessing. It's like, okay, well,
why are you guessing this close into your accusation? Like what?
Yeah, I just don't know what the point of that is.
She says, I misspoke originally when I stated that I had signed an NDA. I thought the employer handbook acted as one. I'm not a lawyer. I never publicly made any statements regarding my time there because I feared even more backlash from a community that was already attacking, defaming, and sending me death threats. I also feared for my future in this career given that Linus Tech Tips is large and has industry connections. So she's saying like, look, in the past I said that I'm bound under an NDA, but actually now realize that the NDA it just never existed. So I've been free to talk this whole time, but the reason I didn't now is because it was out of fear. Like what? Unless I'm just reading this too negatively, but I don't really know what she's saying.
Yeah, she thought the employee handbook counted as an NDA. Has she never worked a job in her life ever before this? Because every time you get hired to a job, they make you sign something like before you start. You also sign things to confirm you're a U.S. citizen. You can sign things to confirm other things like that. So she just signed the necessary paperwork that you have to sign every single time you ever get hired for a job and just assumed that was an NDA. How does that even? I don't even. How does that even? She says I'm not a lawyer. How does it even happen? How do you even believe that?
Right.
I don't understand.
But then also she's like, she's now changing her reasoning for why she never spoke out against Linus before, where it was like, oh, I realized there was no NDA, so I could technically speak about it this whole time, but I chose not to out of fear because his audience would send me death threats, which, is that a valid concern? I mean, maybe, is the PC nerd community that aggro or aggressive? Will they really fuck your life up that much? I mean, I don't know.
They might be aggro, but at the same time, I'm just thinking
it might just be a bunch of little soy, like, I'm just, when I think of like the PC like audience, it's like soy nerds or whatever.
Yeah,
not
it's not
really,
I mean,
like scary people.
They're not that threatening. They're not very scary. But at the same time, it's like, if that is your reason, okay, but I don't know where NDA even came from. That just obviously makes it sound like, that makes me believe that this reason is just an excuse, because the first one obviously was just an excuse. You know?
Yeah. So she continues on saying, I also feared for my future in this career given that Linus Tech Tips is large and has industry connections. That sounds a little bit more valid than the social media excuse. But she goes on to say, my time at this company brought my mental health at an all-time low. You could talk to anyone who was around me during my employment and they would confirm it. I would not have recommended anyone I knew to work there, especially with my experiences as a woman in the office. I was constantly belittled by certain members of upper management. My work was called dog shit. I was called incompetent. When I would reach out to managers and try to get help with these situations, I would be told to put on my big girl pants and be more assertive. It doesn't matter if you think I am or not stupid. This behavior is not appropriate. After enough complaints from me, I was pulled into a meeting. So right off the bat, you know, she's making a gendered argument now that she was targeted for being a woman, but then her listings was her work was called shit. I mean, that sounds like it could happen to anybody.
Yeah, I mean, I'm curious where she thinks the sexist spin is, because I mean, just being shit on for your work is a universal experience that every person in the world will run across one or two times in their life, maybe more. And also, I'm curious as to what the tonal expression really was behind this stuff. Maybe they are just all a bunch of assholes, and they're really like, "Fuck you, you're dog shit, like get out of here." But I don't know. I mean, they could also have been teasing her.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, look, this is not some like video where we're like in defense of the Linus Media Group. Like, we do not give a fuck about Linus. I think Linus is kind of a weird guy personally, not like weird like a creep or like a sex pest or anything like that, but I just think like in general the guy is obviously you know, a little bit, I mean, strange, maybe an egomaniac or something like that, right? But I'm also not going to blindly read something. I'm going to think critically. I'm going to think like, okay, well, does this line up? And if they do, then I'll support them, but if not, then I'll ask for clarifying evidence, right?
Yeah, I mean, no, I am not a Linus Tech Tips gunt guard either. I could literally not care less about him as a person at all, or his group. But I obviously have the same take, where when I read something, I'm not just gonna jump on one side or the other. You know, I'm gonna have some speculation involved.
Right. So here she goes on to talk about one of her meetings. In that meeting, the writer's room was pointed to, and I was asked, do you think any of these people would have a hard time getting a job? I said no, keeping in mind that this was about a month into working there. I was then pointed to and asked, what about you? I was scared. I remember asking, are you gonna fire me? I was laughed at and told to stop being so pessimistic, as if my job and ability hadn't just been vaguely threatened. I was then asked to agree to a verbal no-drama contract. The verbal part is important. In this moment, I realized I was no longer considered part of the team. I was now a threat because I was putting up a fuss for when I believed I was being treated unfairly and inappropriately. This verbal agreement wasn't right. It was behind the scenes warning with no record. A warning that came very shortly after I had come forward stating I had been inappropriately grabbed multiple times in the office, amongst other issues. I was barred from being in videos, so when you ask what happened, why wasn't she in more content, this is why. This is the perplexing fear that people leave Linus Tech Tips and start their own thing if given a platform. So if that platform could threaten negative things coming out about your company or you'd probably want to squash it too. So she says a lot of stuff there, but the thing that I want to focus on is the sexual harassment. I mean, assault, if she was like physically touched or whatever, right? Allegations that she's making that she doesn't like specify, like, whoa, what's going on there? You were complaining about getting grabbed at the office?
Yeah, like what, she just skimmed over that so quickly. Like that doesn't even seem like the main point of her, subject of her thing at all. She was just like, the meeting happened and they were really mean to me and they said this mean thing to me and I was threatened and I was really because I complained about being grabbed in the office and then this happened and then this happened and I'm like, whoa, why are we not talking about this? Because this is the most important part. Everything everything else she just said in that, I do not give a single damn about. I'm going to be completely honest. I do not care that she thought she was being vaguely threatened. She overly read and overly analyzed into some single word that they said about, what about you, lol, and just decided to make like a 2-paragraph sentence about why that means something else. I do not give a single fuck. She's over it. Dramatic. But if she's being grabbed inappropriately in the office, obviously that's horrible. I mean, that's terrible. Why is that happening? But she just skims over like nothing. And like, she also is only a month into working there, so that means that within the first month of her getting there, she's already being groped and sexually assaulted, but then also is having this weird meeting about where she cares about her job and is being weirdly threatened. I don't understand. And if she continued to work there for a year
also, the weird thing too is like the Linus Tech like media group, it's not like this is a massive, you know, company, billionaire company with like hundreds or thousands of employees or whatever. This is still a relatively small group by company standards, right? So if sexual harassment and assault is happening in the office and they're just openly covering up and laughing at you when you report on it, that's kind of a big deal. Like that's even, I mean, obviously all sexual assault's a big deal. You know, no shit, I have to give that clarification there. But in a company this small, that means they're all like basically in on it, right?
Yeah, because it's kind of hard to sweep something like that under the rug. You know, if something like that happened at Apple headquarters, you could probably be like, oh, most people didn't know about that.
Right.
But here there's like 15 employees, so it's like, oh.
They're all in on it. If they're not, you know, standing against this, they're all for it and doing it. So.
But that's what's so weird about me. She didn't even, the way that she words this so far is just like, she's just kind of rambling and then just randomly brings it up and doesn't clarify. Maybe she'll continue to clarify it later. I don't remember. I mean, I skimmed this a little bit. I don't remember if she says anything else about it, but...
Well, she does go on to describe some other stuff. We'll keep reading. In my experience, there's a belief that everything you accomplish, no matter how much it is created by your effort, is actually due to Linus giving you a platform. That was what I was told when I moved from Arizona to Vancouver to take this job. After it was publicly announced by Linus that he was hiring me, without my knowledge or consent to the situation... Wait, consent? And also...
I guess to make it public?
I guess.
She didn't know that he was going to make it public that she was an employee there?
Well, she's implied that he publicly hired her, like, on his show.
Yeah, so I think she's saying after it was publicly announced by Linus that he was hiring me, which he did without my knowledge or consent, so she's saying that the idea of it being a public announcement was not something she knew would happen. She had no idea it was even going to happen or agreed to it.
And also, before I was even offered the job or shown the salary... Wait, before... What's the
so he publicly announced. I mean, look, due to Linus' incompetence, I will maybe believe, to be honest.
That sounds like a shit show.
Sounds like something he would do. That's incompetent.
But then she says, I agreed and signed the employee contract. So he just kind of publicly was like, you want this? And she was like, sure, I'll agree, before seeing this fucking salary and also moving halfway across the continent. Okay.
Well, yeah, I mean, she didn't even ask, you want this? He publicly was like, she's on the team now. And she's like, oh.
What the fuck?
Yeah, that does sound incredibly retarded and incompetent. I mean, wow.
I had asked and been told during my interviews that I'd be allowed to monetize my YouTube channels and be allowed to join Floatplane in exchange for shutting down my Patreon. Once I moved, I was presented with an entirely new contract and handbook that I was not told existed. It detailed that I was given incorrect information and would actually have to make changes to my plans if I wanted to continue being employed at Linus Tech Tips. This was after I had moved entire countries and given up my visa status. I couldn't just go back. Some corrections were made as apologies for the miscommunication, but I was still upset. I later went to Linus about this and stated that the effort to remediate the situation wasn't sitting right with me. He told me perhaps I should change my priorities. What? He was, in this instance, referring to the fact that my brother had suddenly passed away, not even a week before I'd moved for this job, and that perhaps I should just ignore that I'd been misled because that was more important? I cannot tell you how upset I felt at this moment. So, what the fuck?
What the fuck? So when she goes and says, hey, by the way, I don't really feel like you guys remedied the situation about how I moved across the entire world to come work for you guys. And then he's just like, well, just remember that your brother passed. How about you think about that instead?
What kind of response is that?
That's like the worst response I've heard of all time. If that's true, that's just terrible.
Yeah, see, I mean, now we're getting to stuff that this, again, but it's also, she provides no evidence, right? So it's, we have to say, like, if true, that's bad, which is, yeah, no shit, obviously. I just wish we had something here. I mean, I understand this is probably like an IRL conversation. She's not just gonna start fucking recording him like Google Glasses, you know, and just start scanning him. But, you know, it's just something, like maybe a conversation from her talking to another friend about this, like in text, like, oh my God, my job is so retarded or something like that, you know?
Yeah. Like if she had told someone, I mean, if this happened to me, I would be telling you about it instantly.
Right. Yeah,
like,
exactly.
What the hell? They just brought my brother's death. Like, fuck this.
Yeah.
But I mean, I would like to see that. Maybe she doesn't have any friends. I don't know.
Maybe Linus Tech Tips is actually like Andrew Tate's Romanian like porn dungeon where they isolate you from your friends and family so you have no contact with anybody. Maybe they're run the same exact way. I don't know. I'm just speculating, you know?
Yeah, probably.
So she goes on. She says, the opportunities Linus Tech Tips presented to me were nothing in comparison to the day-to-day issues I faced. It did not matter if I spoke to somebody with evidence of an abuse of power or inappropriate workplace behavior. It was considered tattletaling. I was actually called a tattletale. I was told I was bossy when I was trying to be assertive, like I was asked to be. I was told I was arguing when I was trying to dissect my point of view. I was told to calm my tits and stop being such a bitch, and other comments to similar effects. There were numerous instances of misinformation being given to me, purposely to negatively impact my work. I only knew this because coworkers would tell me they overheard the actual information I should have been given. It felt like a horrible teenage drama movie. Okay, well, that's one way to describe it.
Yeah, I mean, I could definitely see workplaces being petty and stupid like that, so I'm not immediately dismissing that, but at the same time, it's like, can you give me maybe an example of a time they tried to negatively impact your work? Like, what does this mean, right? Like, did they tell you something false and expect you to put it in a video and then point and laugh at you about it? Like,
yeah.
What does this mean? Maybe expand on this a little bit more, because I'm curious. I mean, I'm not dismissing that, but what does that even mean?
She goes on and says, work from home was a whole issue. If you took 3 minutes to answer a personal email, you could get in trouble. This happened to me. There is a system of micromanaging and a level of distrust because the amount of content they have to push out daily is so insane, no one gets a break. I remember getting told off for taking my sick days, as in the days you're entitled to. This no days off grindset culminated in the real moment I realized I had to leave. I purposely cut my leg open so bad I would have to go to the ER to get it stapled back together. It was genuinely the only way in my mind to take a day out without being harassed for a reason. Okay, I'm taking the harassment. Unless the harassment is like physical torture in comparison to that. Like, what the fuck?
I'm not cutting my leg open to do. What the hell are you talking about?
I would much rather get chewed out by my boss or anything than actually like endure pain. Like, what?
That's insane. I don't believe it's that serious. But also at the same time, once again, welcome to the real corporate world. Any job you go to, they are going to nag the shit out of you for taking days off. They're going to nag the fuck out of you for everything that you ever want to do in your personal life, because at the end of the day, it's about their company. That's all they care about. They do not care about you as a person. You are literally a cog in the machine to them. That is every corporate job in the world, though. So you telling me Linus Tech Tips is a corporate job that doesn't care about me? Wow. I do not care. I mean, this is 95% of the American population.
I think
what you're talking about right now.
I think she maybe got like delusion with the fact that he was like a YouTuber and like, you know, oh, is the fun guy Linus and his, you know, YouTube channel. Therefore, this job must not be, you know, taken seriously at all. And Linus probably is somewhat like that because he's so like weird and incompetent and stuff, right? But he's also still trying to run a serious company. So there's this mismatch of energies. So then the employees are like, this is too aggressive or something. Whereas Linus is like, well, I'm trying to be like more of a serious guy. But he's also, you know, that's not to excuse him, but, you know.
I mean, this is the thing. If you got a job at, you know, like I said, Apple headquarters earlier, if you got a job at Apple headquarters and you wanted to just randomly take a day off, I mean, they don't do like mental health days. You can take a day and relax. I mean, that's just not a reality at 95% of companies in the world. So you just complaining that you can't just like take a day off and not be bothered. Like, where the hell are you? What's going on? Why are you leaving? I'm sorry. That's just not, you are not in a unique situation. This is the world as a whole.
So she goes on to say, it was genuinely the only way in my mind to take a day off without being harassed. I had spoken to managers about how I was struggling and how the workload was too much for one person, but I was belittled and told, you just have bad time management skills. There are so many instances that led up to that moment. Some of them I have replayed over and over, asking myself, what did I do wrong? How could I have changed the situation? But I don't think I could have. I was not treated fairly, and in the moment, I couldn't even see that because I was told I was the problem by people I'd looked up to for years. I had coworkers come to me saying, I didn't like how you were treated. Glad you got out. And only then did I realize it wasn't me. I haven't shared any of this besides with my closest friends and family because I couldn't at the time take any more hits to my mental health.
She goes on to say, I couldn't deal with how small and worthless the job had made me feel, all to push out some mediocre shitposts. I'm still scared shitless of what the response will be, since I am a woman and have already been called dramatic. Well, I guess I called her that too. I mean, there's another.
We're adding to the pile.
I'm not saying what happened to me because I'm seeking clout. I'm saying it because it has been eating away at me for 2 years. So it's been a year and a half since she finished. She then says that there are genuinely amazing, compassionate, and incredibly intelligent people who work at this company and are driven to just share the cool tech they love. It sucks that ego and a bottom line are slowly destroying some of them and hurting the entire reputation of the company. Okay, who are the people who are shit? Can you name them? I want to
exactly. I want to hear this because so far I've heard Linus is kind of a dick, and then everybody else is like a vague character in this sort of plot. You know, the meeting or whatever. Who was in the meeting, right? Like, like who were the people that were berating you, and especially who are the people that were harassing you, right?
Yeah, like who was sexually assaulting you too, because they should be put in prison if that's true. I mean, actually, they should be imprisoned, despite the fact that I think you're a little bit dramatic and insane, and you aren't really saying anything meaningful. If that's true, then yeah, they should be in prison.
Yeah.
She then says, I didn't ever want to say anything for fear of hurting those people and their employment, but at this point I'm hurting myself keeping this all in, also being constantly bombarded with questions about LTT and jokes made at my expense. I've been patient and tried to ignore these comments, but some of you don't understand the mental anguish and nights of crying, feeling like I did something wrong and ruined my life that I have had to go through. This is my dream job. I was at my dream job and they spoke to me like I was nothing. I can't express to you how worthless I felt. They seem to hire young people who don't know any better for some roles and then get away with this over and over. This wasn't just my dream job. It is a dream job.
What? What does that mean? This was supposed to be the coolest job ever, and it wasn't. Okay.
All right. I don't know. Once again, welcome to the corporate world. This place sucks the soul out of you. Basically, you're just expressing, like I said, you're expressing what like 70, 80, 90% of Americans feel on a day-to-day basis. Like, does it suck? Sure. Is it going to change? No. It's not going to change. It's never going to change. What you're saying right now, women were saying in the 80s when they were first joining the workforce. Men were saying in the 30s when they were the only ones working. I mean, this has been a thing for centuries.
Yeah, so far I'm not. I just don't really see anything here. You know, when she was getting more specific with it, I'm like, all right, yes, tell me about this, right? Tell me about how like weird Linus was, how he lied to you, how he just hired you on the spot. It was just totally unprofessional. That stuff is great. Yeah. Okay, but this stuff about my job was hard, really? I mean, based on what you described, you know, given any other job, and obviously people are going to say like, oh, what about construction work or being a doctor? Yeah, those jobs are obviously way harder, but any other job, fast food, sounds fucking more difficult than this. Like, literally, though.
Yeah, the fast food jobs are difficult. If you work in any other any other corporate white-collar job, it's the same thing. I mean, my dad's worked at corporate jobs for 30 years of his life, and he describes it as the most miserable thing in all of existence. But what he's describing is not anything out of the ordinary to everyone else. So it's just silly. She then goes on to say, there's so many stories of horrible things and shows of ego that I witnessed while working there, but I just needed to get out at least some of what I experienced because it has been 2 years and every day I see people speculate. It's another day I'm forced to feel small. Also meant to add, yes, that Glassdoor review was me. It was, at the time, the only way I felt I could safely express anything that had happened. Since any time I had previously tried, I would be crucified by fans sticking up for who they loved. The things said by Linus about talking to management and HR and promises about how things are handled internally were a gross misrepresentation of what actually goes on behind those doors. I remember he posted this in response to people speculating something wrong had happened to me, and if you read it, it pretty much says, no one has come out against us, therefore we have done nothing wrong. Solved
by Linus Tech, January 6, 2022. For obvious reasons, there won't be an official statement disclosing private details about my dealings with any of our current or former staff. You and Reddit can stop asking. On a separate note, no NDA or other agreement can prevent a Canadian from reporting workplace mistreatment, including, but not limited to, harassment, discrimination, unlawful termination. They can post it publicly, submit a statement to the authorities, or do both for good measure. As long as it was true, it wouldn't be defamatory. If I'm ever actually accused of a crime or misdemeanor, including any violation of employment law, I'm sure you'll be able to read about it all on Dexterto. For now, it appears that we are in the clear.
Okay, I mean, he's obviously being snarky there. I mean, it's kind of a dick move, but at the same time, he is also saying you're welcome to say whatever you want. Like, you're not being. I don't think was there anything threatening or intimidating there?
No,
like,
that sounded regular. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's a little snarky at the end. Like, you'll read all about it on the internet, but it's just like, I mean, you're not threatened. Say whatever you want.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, he's like his only stipulation is like be truthful about what you're saying, right? But like he even points out, it's like, look, under Canadian law, you can say fucking anything. Like he's not running from shit. He's like, if you got something, say it. So, okay.
Yeah, I mean, also, what is he just supposed to come out and just say, like, I did this? It's like, maybe he doesn't even. This is the thing. Sometimes these people say snarky things or say rude things to you, and they're not going to go out and just publicly say, I did this. You have to say it, and then they're going to be like, fuck, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Like, that's just how it works. And in every world, in every corporate world, when you want to hold someone accountable, you hold them accountable. People aren't going to hold themselves accountable. That's not just a trait specific to Linus. People just don't do that at all.
When I read this, I was fuming with upset. Because what a dick thing to post when you were at least partially aware of the treatment your employee was getting from your higher-ups. But I don't know what I expected from someone who would mock others for not knowing who they were. I was asked about my sexual history, my boyfriend's sexual history, how I liked to fuck. I was told that certain issues were sexual tension and I should just take that coworker out on a coffee date to ease it out. I was asked to twerk for a coworker at one point. I was told I was chunky, fat, ugly, stupid. I was called retarded. I was called a f***it. And at any point I would bring up these comments, I would get told, oh, we will have a chat with them. Nothing ever came of it. So now, once again, we're going back into some serious allegations, which, yeah, that sounds terrible.
Yeah, well, I mean, just one thing before we address that. I mean, she is, again, just bouncing back and forth all over the place. She just went from, they said something snarky to me, to horrible, disgusting, like, sexual allegations, which obviously, of course, if all these are true, this is terrible. I mean, making someone twerk for you, that's just so, that's disgusting. And then telling someone, when you report something to them that you're being sexually harassing, go take them out.
Take them on a date to ease them out, calm them down. It's like, what? Yeah, that's not a good idea at all. And why would you suggest this as a higher up? Who said this? Who the fuck said this? And do they still work there?
Yeah, tell me now, because we need to get this resolved immediately. But that's the thing, is it's hard to track what she's saying because it's just so all over the place. And then it's also just thrown in and mixed in with, they were mean to me. That seems to be her main point too, because all this other stuff comes just very quickly and then it's just dismissed immediately.
Yeah.
But they were mean to me. It's
so weird. It's like, that would be at the top of my allegation, right? I'd be like, I was told to do horrible things while working at Linus and they wouldn't help me with shit. They told me to hang out with these creepy dudes harassing me at work every day like it was a nightmare. But no, she's like, it was a nightmare because it was mean, but also this other stuff happened.
Yeah, I mean, look, that doesn't mean it's false, just so you guys know. And we're not saying that means it's false, but just it leads to a lot of speculation just because the way she's wording this, it's just like, maybe it's just how she is, but I don't know, it makes me speculate a little bit more. She said, the day I handed my notice was when someone who constantly overstepped me, misled what I was working on, and who I was, said to me, I think the reason you try to be funny is because you lack any other skills, smiled, and then walked away. I quit 15 minutes later. Who was this?
Yeah.
It hurts when people... Do
they still work there?
Yeah, that's just horrible. But at the same time, so many assholes are going to be in your life. You have to live with them sometimes. It hurts when people compare where I am now to where I was then, because I had a bigger audience. Yeah, I made more money on Twitch, but I didn't know if I wanted to even exist if the person I looked up to could treat me and other people I respected like pawns. Yep, People are shit. I don't know.
Wait, so she doesn't have... Who is she talking? Is she inferring that she looked up to Linus and that because she had such a horrible experience Am I crazy?
I don't know. I think she's talking about Linus. But another thing too is, keep in mind, I mean, I guess this is the thing, you are not their friend. You know, when you get hired by Linus, he's not hiring you because he thinks you're his friend. Maybe he treats you like terribly still, and that's fine. I mean, I'm not going to just dismiss that. But you can't have Linus as your boss and think, damn, he's treating me like a disposable employee. It's like, yeah, that's what you are. I mean, that's what you are to him, is your disposable employee.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, it sucks, but that's just the truth.
Dude, every allegation, we're just like, yes, this is how the world works. Welcome to how shit it is. You know?
It is shit. I mean, it's shit. I mean, any person who's watching this video who's ever had a corporate job will relate to what we're saying. People who listen to what we're saying and they get mad, it's someone who's never been in that situation to understand this is just the life and this is how the world works.
It's also funny too, because earlier she mentioned some comments. She was like, I think Linus like picks like young people who are uninformed or don't know anything. It's like, well, yeah, probably.
Probably everything does that. I mean, this is the thing. Everything you do in life will have this. I mean, even just the other day, I was talking to my brother about him buying a car. It's like, do you think that they have your best interest in mind when you're buying a car? No, they want someone who's uninformed. They want someone who's stupid, so that way they can get the most money out of you. They do that when you go get your car repaired. They do that when you buy food. You think food isn't priced high so that way you pay more for it? Everything you do in life, people are exploiting you and taking advantage of you for being young or being uninformed or being stupid, whatever it might be. So it's just like, I don't know. This isn't something that's blowing my mind.
Get
right
used
now.
to it.
Like,
Adapt
wow.
or survive. It's like,
Yeah, my mind is not blown by any of this.
even when you're at Linus' job, because you can't just get fooled by thinking, oh, this is a silly little YouTuber fun group and we'll make money too and have fun. Nope, it's a job.
No.
It's probably gonna be shit.
Yep, it's gonna suck.
Let's continue. I was also the one tasked with managing the OnlyFans account. Wait, whoa,
What?
whoa. Something I said I didn't want to do. I had to read comments from people talking about how they wanted to fuck me and my coworkers. I saw people's dicks and vaginas. I said no and was told only a little longer. What?
Where did this just come from?
This just came out of nowhere. What does she mean?
Wait,
Only a little longer.
Linus Tech Tips OnlyFans account?
Wait, and that's real? That apparently has nudity on it that she had to witness?
Well, maybe she's just saying that people sent those pictures because it's OnlyFans, and anyone who's on that website are just sending those just to people because they're insane. Yeah, just horrible. What is this? What even happened? I don't understand.
Wait,
I need to know what that is. What is a Linus Tech Tip? Yeah, look it up.
So Linus Media Group has an OnlyFans. Why and what the fuck? It's just her tweet though. It was an April Fool's Day joke from a few years ago. Nothing lewd, just silly trolling. It was an April Fool's that existed for like a week and had one day of photos. I'm surprised they had anyone manning it. And this was one thing she said that seemed odd to me, as they said they wouldn't be keeping it up and it was only a one-day thing.
So she's mad that they made a April Fool's joke and then other idiots on the internet decided to send her sexually explicit photos. That's somehow Linus's fault.
They're like, run this account as a joke for the day or whatever. And then she got mad.
Because a bunch of people decide to be assholes and do horrible things, which can happen if you're running a Twitter account.
Yeah, there's more porn on Twitter.
Yeah, actually. So, I mean, okay.
If you want to say I'm just hopping on a bandwagon, that's fine. It doesn't take away the very real experiences I had, or that sharing these without current events would have gotten me persecuted for attacking a company most of you up until a few days ago thought was perfect. They also forced me to have them as my representation if I wanted to take any sponsors for my YouTube or Twitch channels. Originally, I'd been told, just make sure you okay things for us for non-compete issues. Then that changed when I'd moved to take the job. To be clear, this meant I couldn't seek any companies to represent me to brand for sponsorships, something important for making a living on Twitch or YouTube, but LTT also wasn't doing this for me as well. They were just going to take any traffic I gained for myself, make a deal, and take the cut.
Eventually got all the money back that they would have taken when I called out that their calculations for the cut they should have been taking were being made before any sort of supplies were reimbursed. Even though in the contracts there was a set amount set aside for supplies. So I guess that means that they just miscalculated her shit, which obviously that's still incompetence. So that is a fair thing to call out. It's like, hey, you guys are jipping me of my money and shorting me. That's kind of fucked up.
Right.
But it looks like she said that they resolved it, so could be just incompetence. Maybe it's malicious. I don't know. Then she says, I'm still angry. For a year I was being forced to sit under them while they were not doing anything a company would do to really represent you. And then somehow a big corporation gets the math wrong on how they should be paying you. I mean, yeah. Welcome to the real world. Big corporations not paying you correctly or getting your math wrong. I mean, they are incompetent. That's just true.
Yeah.
I will believe you. I believe you that the Linus Tech Tips is incompetent. I.e., a company is paying you $600 and $100 they're giving you specifically to spend on their platform for the content. The cut LTT was trying to take was of the total $700, not the $600 that was the actual payment. I had to talk to multiple people before this was rectified. Yeah, it sounds like also could have been something on their error, like maybe on their side of things they were tracking that they had given you $700 and they maybe didn't split it up, and then that's why it seemed to come out that way. Now, of course, that still is unfair. You should get that resolved, and it's good that you got it resolved, but it seems like something that can easily be summed up to as an error. Also, apparently some managers didn't like me because I hadn't gotten drunk with them before. Wow.
Okay.
Which was said in that haha just joking but actually I'm serious tone. Well, that's a wild assumption. I mean, just assuming that they're serious. After I came forward about being assaulted, someone accused Linus of inappropriate conduct on Twitter. He came over to my corner and started berating her, calling her insane, mentally ill, and an attention seeker, and just digging into this poor woman who had felt wronged by him.
Wait a minute, what? Sorry.
So
she was a woman from the office? Like, what are they talking about?
Okay, so it sounds like something happened on Twitter where they accused Linus of something, and then Linus came and talked to Madison and told Madison, like, do you see this crazy woman on the internet? Like, she sucks. Fuck this woman. But, I mean, to be honest, I'm not surprised that he would react that way. Probably if I saw someone accusing me of something, even if it was true, I would react angrily at first. I'd be like, oh, why? Why is this happening? Now, should he do that to your employees? Obviously not.
Probably
That's
not.
Inappropriate behavior. That's kind of fucked up.
It's also just a stupid idea, too. It's like, like, what is she going to think now? She's going to be like,
this is horrible. Yeah, no, it's not a good idea. So that's incompetence on Linus for sure. Also, remember the corner I was in? People would sneak up on me and try to scare me. After the incident, I was nervous about this and requested a mirror so I could see behind me. I watched coworkers get what I had asked for weeks before they did. It took 2 months to get mine. Similar things would happen whenever I requested anything. I needed more RAM installed on my PC for months because I was expecting to edit Red footage. It took 5 months and a writer being kind enough to do it for me when the numerous requests I sent in were ignored or put off. I would go to management for help and get told I could handle it myself. Eventually, I was pulled into a meeting for insubordination because I had gone around the system for requesting RAM after I was ignored for months and dealing with my PC crashing and losing work daily. That's kind of lame. There was an incident where I requested a $15 notebook. Keep in mind, I had maybe $25 worth of purchases requests in my entire time working at this company. I requested this notebook to help with my poor time management skills. Denied. You don't need it. You have lined paper. I was upset and responded that this was different. No. Then bam, another meeting. Madison, why were you rude and not communicative with this manager? I didn't mean to be. I was told no. But then I got in trouble because they said they didn't know I was still upset. Cut to me being at my desk, and I got a message saying I did know you were still upset because you never emailed me back. They had lied in front of the big boss to make me look bad, and worst of all, I knew if I brought this up, I would be the one getting reprimanded for tattling. There were also numerous times I would be asked why I couldn't just check up on socials or do little jobs during the weekend because it's social media, so is it really working? Imagine telling someone in 2021 social media isn't a real job. Wow. I'm sure there will be more things I remember and wish I had mentioned in this thread in the coming hours, but for now, please don't attack any individuals who don't actually have power at this company. Most of them are blameless or powerless to actually change
then
it.
Name the individuals because we don't know who is the bad guy and who's the good guy. For all I have to think in my head, right? Everybody at Linus Tech Tips is horrible, right? All I know is that this company generally facilitates potentially, sexual assault and harassment, right? Nobody cares. Nobody's taking your claims seriously or whatever, right? But now you're saying like, well, don't shit on people that weren't responsible. Well, I don't know. I don't know who was responsible or not.
Yeah, she hasn't listed who's responsible or also who knew. Because at the same time, it's like, there's a lot of people who are powerless and blameless in this. It's like, okay, like, so is the coworker that was a couple stalls away from you but didn't say anything about it but knew it was happening, are they blamed? Are they also blamed?
Also,
like,
do the people that
names.
affected you personally, do they still work at the company or were they fired? Right? Like these, again.
Yeah, these are all important to know. Also, why didn't you take legal actions? I had just quit my job, I was scared shitless of this company, and felt like I was worthless, and personally, I don't have millions of dollars to throw at legal fees. Well, I don't think it would cost you millions of dollars, but okay. When I left, I was told that they would announce I parted ways from the company on Juan's show. I said no, unless you make it sure that you clearly state that I quit. They never even mentioned it on the Juan show. I've heard that HR meeting recording, and please note how all the allegations that the management heard are referred to as drama. Imagine how you would feel trying to say anything when that is the exact response you would be given. Yeah, once again, pretty much everything besides, look, if you take out the sexual assault stuff, that's obviously horrible. If that's true, the people should be locked up for that. Everything else you're saying where it's like, I complained about my job and people were mean to me, the bosses are going to consider you and consider it drama. They do not care about you.
Yeah.
They do not care about you. That's just the corporate world. In that recording, you will hear someone make inappropriate jokes. You will hear the situation be belittled. You will also hear that there's an internal want for you to go directly to whoever wronged you and have a one-on-one chat, removing any sort of HR interference. Yep, HR is incompetent and they don't care about you. That's true. That's any job you go to. Imagine someone calls you dog shit and the response you get is, oh no, go talk to them about it. But it keeps happening and there's no record of it because you were instructed to just go talk to them, not HR, who also just so happened to be an active owner of the company. Talk to HR. Here, this is the lesson for anyone watching this who hasn't worked a corporate job yet. If you really care this much about drama, if you can't let it roll off your back, if it really bothers you this much, have a paper trail for everything. Go to HR and submit emails to them and submit paper copies to them about everything that you do at all times. Because that will have a trail that you can reference that they have seen what you're saying, what you're complaining about, and that they haven't done shit about it. Because otherwise, they can just play dumb. They can play dumb, and they're going to do that. They're going to play dumb because they're HR. So always keep a paper trail. Always track what you're doing. Otherwise, it's just this word. If it's just this word of mouth stuff, no one's gonna give a fuck about you. Then she finishes it off. I think this is a follow-up tweet. She says, "I'm baffled to hear about the shock of these allegations. You're not shocked that they happened. You're shocked that someone said something. You're probably shocked because evidence for most of these issues is scarce. So why would anyone risk their image to speak out?"
Well, it still is scarce, but
yeah,
I mean,
still is scarce. I don't know. I mean, I am not shocked that they happened, but that's because half of the allegations you said, when it's just people being mean and rude and petty, happens to everyone in their life. So
yeah, Linus did come out and, he did basically say, like, he put out a statement like, oh, we're taking the allegations seriously. We're conducting a big assessment into the company, a very corporate response, what you would expect or anything like that, right? But
there's not even any point in reading that, yeah.
Yeah, there really isn't. I think the main takeaway from this thread is a lot of what she said is, like, a lot of the pettier stuff of what she said is probably true. And half of that is, she needs to kind of, maybe grow up a little bit and understand how, like, the world works. And maybe the other half of it is also, like, true, but just, again, just a standard feature of most jobs.
Yeah, I mean, that's the truth. But there obviously is the stuff that, if there is true, like the sexual assault, that's obviously
crazy.
Horrible.
Yeah, that stuff is nuts.
Those people need to be just banished from society for all of eternity. And I'm completely on her side if that's true. But 90% of what she said that's not that. If you take those allegations
I'm just so confused on, like, the ordering of the allegations here too, because she'll ramble, then she'll make a specific allegation, ramble, specific allegation, ramble, and then she'll drop the sexual harassment stuff, and it's like, whoa, this is kind of crazy.
And then she'll go back to rambling
about other stuff. It's like, oh, okay, well, was that,
what? Yeah,
what just happened?
I'm just lost. Yeah, so I don't know. My takeaway is, I want to know if there's any time she's talked to someone about this, if she has any screenshots of that to back this up and not just say, I mean, she's saying, you can say I jumped on the bandwagon. Right now, I don't know if this is a bandwagon move or not. I have no idea.